Last year, I didn't have alcohol for the whole year. This year, I'm not gonna have sugar for the whole year. But whereas with alcohol, I didn't drink that much. I ate sugar quite a lot. Now that I live with my girlfriend, I can't not have it in the house. The way I would deal with my inability to moderate myself in the past when I lived on my own is I would just avoid buying it. But now that we live together, and now that she loves making cakes, and so does her mum, it's really hard for me not to be eating loads of sugar all the time. And to add to that, we seem surrounded by sugar in our day-to-day. You know, it's in advertising, it's in product placement in movies. So I can't just go in gung-ho. I need a strategy. And this video is basically outlining with you what I intend my strategy to be. So the strategy is broken down into 3 parts. There is the what, so defining what I'm trying to do. There's also the why, which is, you know, I'm gonna need a strong reason why I wanna do this, because inevitably there's gonna be times when it gets tough, and that why is gonna anchor me and give me strength during those times. And lastly, it's the how. It's the day-to-day tactics and ideas I have that it's gonna make this journey easy and possible. Let's talk about the what. When I tell people I'm not gonna have sugar for a year, the first thing they tell me is, oh, but did you know you can't also have bread then, and pasta and stuff like this? And the kind of sugar I'm talking about is what you think of when I say the word sugar. Added sugar, if you will. So not naturally occurring sugar. Here's a quick outline of what happens when we eat sugar, and or how the body metabolizes it in a totally different way than it would with naturally occurring sugars. So let's take an example of banana. What's gonna happen is the body's gonna take it, it's gonna metabolize it, and the banana's going to our short-term energy storage that we're gonna use throughout a day. Sugar though, just on its own, like something from a chocolate bar, that wouldn't be metabolized the same way as a banana. It would go right into our long-term storage, our fat. I think the distinction, whether it goes to the short-term or the long-term, is the presence of fiber. Fiber is one of the 5 macronutrients which compose all foods. And having the presence of fiber in the banana is actually what signals to the body to put this in the short-term storage. To illustrate how important fiber is, if you take an orange and you eat it like on its own, that would go into the short-term storage. But if you blend the orange, you're actually gonna tear the fibers up, and then it's gonna be treated just as sugar on its own. So it's gonna go into the fat stores. So basically I'm avoiding added sugar, and also all the different names for added sugar. I will allow myself a teaspoon of honey, because sometimes we like to add a teaspoon of honey when we're making salad dressing. But if I find out that I'm a sugar junkie and I start eating from the honey jar, then I'm also gonna stop having honey as well. I'm also not gonna have any sweeteners, because even though they're not technically sugar, the kind of effect they have on the body is the same as sugar, you know, it's these cravings. I think that as human beings, we're ill-equipped for living in harmony with added sugar. That's because even though intellectually we can make the difference between a chocolate bar and a broccoli, biologically, our bodies are like, woo, chocolate, yeah! They don't realize that there's no nutrients inside it. They just see it for what it is, which is calories. And so our bodies give us like a really big rush of chemicals which reward that kind of behavior. They're telling us, what you did is good. That's good for our survival because we just had loads of calories. So do more of that. But our bodies are not designed in this world, or they haven't evolved to be able to say that, yeah, but that was chocolate. Like, you're not giving me any of the good stuff I need to do my job. If you watched my last video where I talked about my experience of not drinking alcohol for a year, something I realized along the way was I'm actually bad at moderating myself. Or I don't like to spend my willpower on moderation as well. It's either yes or no. And I think having like a strict rule where I can't have added sugar, it might actually be easier for me than to try and fight with, hey, just have a little bit. Because for me, a little bit always ends up being a lot. I think also like part of the problem is we don't have a defined metric of what enough sugar is. So when it comes to alcohol, we know that once you've had over a certain number of units, you're no longer fit to drive. But we don't really have that with sugar. Like, what is it? Is it one muffin? Is it 3 muffins? But then each bakery has a different recipe, so you're eating different amounts of sugar. We don't really have that standardized. I'm also interested to see how my taste buds will react, because I've done this 2 times before, but only for 30 days. And what happened around the second week was that my taste buds started really responding to fruits. I remember eating banana and thinking, wow, this is like the sweetest thing I've ever had. Like, why would I ever need anything sweeter than this? And then once the 30 days were over and I began introducing chocolate back into my diet, I was like, you know, this chocolate, I had the expectation that it would taste a lot better than it does. But over the course of a few months, our fruit bowl has a very sad looking banana inside it because no one wants to eat it. And meanwhile, the chocolate is getting all the attention. When it comes to the tactics, this is what I have so far. I'm gonna stock up on alternatives, so like fruits, bananas, apples, mandarins. I'm also gonna get into the habit of checking for added sugar. So if you don't know how that works, on the back of every packaging, you're gonna see the nutritional information. And that's gonna be broken down into the different macronutrients. So you're gonna have things like carbohydrates, you're gonna have fibers, you're gonna have proteins, you're gonna have fats. But under carbohydrates, you're also gonna see a subcategory, which is carbohydrates of which sugars. Now, the really easy way to read this is because the sample is usually taken on 100 grams of that product, you can treat all those numbers like percentages. So when you look at the back of a chocolate bar and you look at carbohydrates of which sugars, you might see something like 50 grams, which is basically 50%. So half of it is just sugar, what you're eating. Not very nutritious. However, when it gets a little bit complicated is for stuff that has naturally occurring sugars. So for example, yogurt. You might see the carbohydrates of which sugars quite high there. So then you would scoot over to the ingredients list and then you would read for sugar or one of its 1,000 names. And if that isn't present, then you know that it's all naturally occurring sugar. The last thing that I'm gonna do in terms of a tactic is I'm going to go to bed when I feel tired. The way it works for us right now is I eat most of my sugar in the evening around 9 p.m. because we're tired, but we feel like we've not had enough fun after the workday. So we put on something to watch and then come the sweets out and the ice creams and the crisps, and that's where I overdo it. And my theory behind this is that it's the end of the day, I'm getting tired. Really, I should be going to bed, but I'm keeping myself up artificially, if you will, by eating all this crap. Something I found out when I did 30 days of waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, which is really hard, by the way. I found out that on the days that I managed to force myself to wake up at 6, even though I hadn't had enough sleep, my mood was low, my energy was low, and I had a really big craving for sugar and candy and chocolate and stuff like this, because my body was looking for kind of quick hits of energy to make up for the lack of restoration from sleep. So the idea is that when I get tired, I'm just gonna go to bed rather than staying up. The other thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna focus on quality sleep. Something that is easy to get wrong is thinking that we need lots of sleep, but actually what we need is quality sleep. And a really common way that we ruin our sleep is by bringing our phones into the bedroom. The body is a thing of habit, and when it's in certain environments, it starts to pick up the expectations it has of itself in those environments. So when we're in the gym, our body gets hyped up. When we're in the bedroom, obviously the body should be slowing down and getting ready to rest. But because all of us use our alarms on our phones, we take our phones into the bedroom. And what might start off as an innocent one last scroll ends in us seeing something that triggers us, and then our adrenaline goes up, and now we're no longer like in rest mode, but we're in fight or flight. Now, if that happens once, okay, but over a period of weeks and months, we begin to no longer associate the bedroom with a place of rest, but a place of activity. And what that means is that even though we're in bed for 8 hours, we're not getting 8 hours of quality sleep. So my solution to that is to go back in time and to just buy alarm clocks. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that improves our sleep. If you want to follow this journey, I recommend that you subscribe to my newsletter over at my blog, because I'm going to be posting blog posts along the way. What I really want to know from you is, how do you know, or how do you identify when you've had enough sugar for the day? I really want to know this because I don't have this. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is Martin, and I hope to see you soon. But if you excuse me, I'm gonna go over to my favorite bakery and bring some of the last croissants that I'm gonna have for the whole year.
Hallo. Ich möchte bitte die Mandel mitnehmen.
Here we go. Oh yeah. Look at them. Here we go. Last ever sugar.